What's up, YouTube? All right, let's get started.
If you don't have one.
Okay. Today we're going over timers, variable scope, and code or organization. And let's do our dad joke of the day. So, what did one plate whisper to the other plate? Like a plate of food. Dinner's on me.
All right.
Well, welcome to week 4 of JavaScript course. Today we're going to do timers, variable scope, and code organization. Thank you for coming for another week.
Did anyone by chance do the homework that was assigned?
I didn't realize it was homework.
Oh, good. It's okay.
Homework review. So,
Review.
our homework was to write a function called count upwards by 3 that has no parameters in this function. Use a for loop or while loop to count from 0 to 30 by 3 and output each number to determine as the loop counts. Wait. So what am I reviewing?
You can just go.
Oh wait, yeah, am I supposed to? Okay. Let's go to the solution. All right, guys. So we're gonna look at these functions. So for count upwards by 3, this is very interesting and very difficult. Basically, you have a for loop, and you set the beginner, or I guess you weren't here for the whole for loop lessons. I can sort of do a little overview over what a for loop is. A for loop is like you're trying to iterate over something a set amount of times or an unset amount of times. Basically, you're trying to do something over and over until some condition breaks, okay? So for this example, for var, okay, first off, what is a little weird thing about this for loop? Jenna?
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
What?
We use var. We're chalking var forever, okay? Always use le. Oh my God, bro. So chalk var for life. Always use let. And then so we have this number equal to 0. While this number is less than or equal to 30, we're gonna increase it by 3. So any ideas on what this will be printing actually? Answer gets a free chocolate. Can you guys not see? I'm sorry.
So what's the first thing that will print, I guess? We can start from there.
That's a good guess, but because you begin with number equals 0, the first thing that's gonna print is actually 0. This number plus 3, I guess you want to think about it like this. You start with this number, this is the initial value the number is going to take. So every time you go through this loop, or the first time you go through this loop, this number is what will be given into is what it represents basically. And while this number is less than or equal to 30, after the loop runs, you're gonna add 3 to the number and then check if this condition holds. So what this is actually going to print is 0, then a 3, then a 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. And then when number's 30, it'll re-add, and then you'll have 33. Is 33 less than or equal to 30? Yeah. It's not less than or equal to 30. So this condition right here then becomes false. Once that condition is false, the loop breaks. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? Okay. So right here we have another function, but this time it does guess my favorite number. And for some reason, their favorite number is 3. Okay. You can choose whatever number you want, but for our solution, we chose 3. Okay. So you take in an input parameter, which is guess, which is the number that they're gonna pass in. And then if that guess is equivalent to 3, you console.log, you guess my favorite number, because 3 is my favorite number. Else, you try again. So what do you think guess my favorite number 2 is gonna print? Anyone? What about 3? Yeah, that's it. Good job, guys. And then convert number today. Okay, this is actually this is a little more interesting. Okay. Basically, when you think of it's also something that's very interesting that I want you guys to pay attention to is that we start with case 0. This is very important in programming. A lot of stuff in programming in general is going to be 0 indexed, which leads to like when you first get used to programming, it's like a little confusing. But most of the time, you're always going to start with the number 0. You're not going to start with 1. So for Sunday, that's going to be case 0. So what this is doing is that it takes in this number, it puts it into a switch statement. And since you were here, a switch statement is like a series of repetitive if statements back to back to back. Like that's not actually how it works, but that's like a good overview. It's just a bunch of if statements. So you pass in this number. In the case that that number is 0, you want to print out Sunday. In the case that it's 1, it's Monday. Does that make sense? And so on and so on. So, and then at the end of a switch statement, you always want to have a default. Like what happens if none of those cases are met? Okay. And that's basically your else part of the if else block. And else this number doesn't convert to a day of the week. So I think that makes sense.
Switch statements in each of the cases at the end, you usually want to break, because if you don't, then it's just gonna keep following through. Like if you don't have the break, say for example in case 2, it'll keep going to case 3, case 4, and you don't want that because you want to just stop at case 1. That's how you break.
Yeah.
Like break.
The break's very important actually. She's very right. Yeah, so let's do some pop quiz. Okay, Joyce, what is number if I pass in convert number to day 7, what is it gonna pass? What is it gonna print?
Bro, scroll down.
No. No, because that gives the answer. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, I'll tell. Yep, that's right.
Oh, that was a bad throw.
Okay, what's a bad throw? Okay, what about either of y'all? Do y'all want to take a guess on what convert number today 4 is gonna print?
Okay, imagine we removed all the break statements. What would print out if you did convert number today for 3?
It would go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then stop there, I think.
I think what your interpretation is a case statement, like how I'm thinking about it working in your head, is like goes case by case and it prints everything inside until it reaches the case that you're looking for. But that's not how a case statement actually works. A case statement is that once you give it a number, it'll instantly jump to that case. How does that work? Who cares? Um, all you need to worry about is once you give it a number, it'll instantly go to that case. So since he said 4, I think, you have number, you'll go to case 4, and then you'll start executing the code from here on. So you'll log Thursday, so it'll print a Thursday, and then it'll print a Friday, and then a Saturday, and then it'll even block. It'll even print out the default. So it'll also print out this number does not print. You need the breaks, or else it's gonna keep going over and over. There are some situations where you actually benefit from not using any of the breaks, but those are like so niche that it's very important that you remember to break after every case. Okay? And that is it. So that's our homework overview. Any questions? I'll actually take anything. If switch statements don't make sense, let me know.
Makes sense.
Okay, if they make sense, then what if we had no break statements and I gave number is equal to 2? What would print out? 2.
Say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday.
That's it. Yes. So we can move on to the next one.
Cool. So today we're going to be talking a little bit more about how exactly JavaScript runs. To illustrate this, someone give me a food. Anyone? Pasta, exactly. So how do you make pasta? Wait. How do you make pasta, right? You have to get the recipe calls for like you put pasta in a bowl or whatever, and then you add this, and then you add that. But you can't skip to a specific part of that before. You can't put it into the pot without adding everything that you need, right? So that's kind of how JavaScript runs. It's this word called synchronously, right? So it runs line by line, and it has to finish that line before moving on to the next line. However, what if you're making like cookies, right? And the recipe is just like, oh, put like your dough needs to rise for like 4 hours, right? Are you really like wanting to just stand there and like wait for 4 hours? No, right? So there has to be kind of a way to like set this up and wait 4 hours, and then it'll run once, or you'll put or get the cookies once 4 hours pass, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Again, another example, a more realistic one. If a user is logging into a website, and we change the website up, and then we want to show a pop-up that gives a tutorial only like 2 seconds after they're logged in. We want to do this today, okay? However, everything that we learned before runs sequentially. So there's kind of no way for us to do that currently, which is why today we're going to be introducing set timeout.
Oh,
Oh man. Okay. Set timeout. So basically running through this code a little bit, you have let and then the timeout key, which is like a variable, think of it like that. And then you have your function call called set timeout, which takes in a couple different parameters, okay? So the first parameter that it takes in is the function that you want to delay. So in this case, the function is called function to delay. And then it delays, the next parameter it takes in is the number of milliseconds that you want to delay. And first of all, does anyone know how many milliseconds are in a second? Add a zero. Add one zero to
Oh,
100.
well done.
Yeah, there you go. Low key, I didn't know that either. So it's important to know. And then the following parameters are the parameters of function to delay. So that's the structure. We can go over an example. So this is a function called show website tutorial. And like I said, you have the set timeout, which takes in that function, and then 2000 milliseconds. And notice how it doesn't have any parameters after because show website tutorial takes no parameters, right? So can anyone tell me how long this will wait before executing the function show website tutorial?
2 seconds.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. And then this is another example with parameters. So say we want to execute the function sum, but then we pass in parameters 3 and 6. Can someone walk me through like what would happen when we run this code? Someone else?
It would. Alright.
Wait, so first of all, what would the function itself do if you pass in 3 and 6?
It would. Well, the first, the 5,000 is the most things, right?
Yeah.
And then the 3 and the 6 have one. Oh, they would add them together to 9.
Right. Yeah. So those are the parameters to that actual function. So you see sum is taking in parameters A and B. In this case, it's going to be 3 and 6. So what would that print out? 9. So, but it has a set timeout of 5,000 milliseconds. So how long would it wait until it would print that out?
5.
There you go. Perfect. So 9 is printed out after waiting 5 seconds. Another thing, this is a little bit more tricky. So we have 3 set timeouts in a row. They each take in a different amount of time. What do you guys think would print out when this runs? Yes, Mohammed.
it's 3, 2, 1, right?
Perfect. But why did you answer?
What do you mean, why didn't I answer? I said 3, 2, 1.
Wait, you're supposed to let them answer.
Wait, no, because it's actually something like I was confused, but I was like, oh wow.
Bro. You don't get a candy, by the way. I don't know why you did that. All right. So does anyone have any questions about that one? We're all good? Okay, cool. So
How does it keep track of this stuff?
wait, what?
Like, how does it know when sets like yeah? Wait, yes. How does it know like when it's time to run it? Actually, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so now, but what if we have like a set timeout call that needs to wait 2 minutes before executing some function, but then we realize that we actually don't want it. So for example, you want to bake cookies, right? And then you wait like 2 minutes and you're like, oh, like this cookie tastes horrible, so I'm gonna throw it away, right? That's kind of what our goal is here. And that's where set timeout ID comes in. Do you remember the variable that we set the function to? That's a variable that we're going to be using. And the function that we're going to be calling is clear timeout. So this takes in the timeout key that we had earlier, and it basically kind of just cancels the timer. So in this example, right, we have what we talked about earlier, the timeout ID. And then if we're impatient, we're just going to call clear timeout and then pass in that ID and then it'll stop. So does anyone have any examples of set timeout, the first one that we learned in the real world? So an example previously was that like you log in and then something displays after 2 seconds. If anyone has another idea.
maybe it's like when I hop on the site and I have my ad blocker on, like 2 seconds later, the like disable your ad blocker thing comes up.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great example. Anyone else? Yes, Mo?
If I'm in an AFK server of Roblox,
Oh yeah.
they need to make sure you don't get kicked out in 20 minutes. So they probably have a set timeout for like 19 minutes, 59 seconds. And then they'll make you rejoin after that set
Cool.
timeout.
I can tell you play Roblox a lot. Good job. Um, okay. So yeah, these are some more examples of how it's used. It's very important in the real world, so it's important to know how these concepts work. Um, but now what if we wanted to only run at a specific interval of time? So if you think of like a clock, right? A digital clock maybe, it shows like the second, minute, but how exactly is this like updating in real time, right? So this is how we're gonna do um it next. If you go on the next slide. So we're going to be using set interval. So likewise before it takes in a couple parameters. So it takes in the function, milliseconds, and then that function's parameters. So pretty much the same parameters, right? However, what this does, it'll execute the code specifically at that interval of time. So if you go on to the next slide, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna answer Mo's. I was searching it up, how set timeout works under the hood. Essentially, when you call set timeout, you're creating a new thread. That's the whole point of a thread is basically a new process. And the whole point of it is just to set it like a timer for whatever milliseconds you have. Once the thread is done and the timer runs out, it'll send the callback to something called a callback queue. So, which is just a place you store it. And then eventually you have something continuously running in JavaScript and it'll keep checking this callback queue. And if there's something there, it'll run that. So
If you're running an operation when the callback happens, like let's say I'm doing a function or like a for loop and it's doing some addition.
it's usually it'll wait until your synchronous code, which is like your main code, finishes running, and then it'll call the callback.
Cool. So this is an example that we can run through for a set interval. What would happen if I had this function called second, which just prints out a second has passed by, and then I use the function set interval with 1000 milliseconds. What do you guys think would happen?
I think every second it would print out a second that passed by.
Perfect. Cool. And then this is another example. So show date basically logs the date into an object and then puts that into a string. And then we are doing the same thing where we basically show the date every second. Yeah, new date basically whenever it's executed, it creates an object, right? And that object has different functions, and one of the functions is dot to local string. And so that basically just prints out, it takes in like the date and time, and then I'm pretty sure it's based off of like how your like computer is set up, it like puts it into like the specific format. So that's how it works. Okay, some practice. What do you guys think will happen when this code yes.
Wait, why are you putting like let interval I equals set interval like in program? Why can't you just call it set interval?
Yeah, do you remember if you go back to the other slide? Yeah, the clear timeout. It's important to have like that variable just in case like if you say you want to display the time, but then you don't want to anymore at a certain point, you can just call this function and then pass that in the parameter. I think you can do it without setting it to a variable, but like if you ever like it's important like it's like useful to have if you want to change the behavior.
I think like maybe an example I can think of is like, let's say you're like back to what you was talking about with like, oh, I want to show this guy a video, right? You don't want to like have that video replaying over and over. So after like the time passed for the first video to run, you could probably just like clear time out that video and then it's not showing anymore.
Oh my gosh.
I played some questions. Here we are.
Yeah. Okay, so can anyone run me through what happens when this code is run?
3, 2, 1. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Wait.
I don't think it's 3, 2, 1. Wouldn't it be 3, 3,
Okay,
2,
but if you
3,
did
3.
Yeah, be more detailed in like how many times it would run.
2, 3, 1.
Yeah, so like just in general, how many times will like the first line run? Yeah, well,
The
okay.
first line only runs once every 5 seconds. The second line is every 3 seconds, and the third line is every second.
No, yeah. So yeah, that's correct. The if you want to go in more in depth, like what
I
he
think
said,
the actual output
but
is 3, 3, and then after that you're at 3,000. So then it would do 2 first because it comes first, I'm assuming. So then it would be 2, 3, and then you'd have another 3, and then 1, 3, and then that would be the pattern that it's not a pattern actually. Then it would be 3, 2, I think, but
yeah, it
that's
just in
niche.
general, like 3 is just printing every second. Just that's like pretty much all you have to know. You're not gonna be like tracing that. But yeah, again, like you can just stop it by calling clear interval. This is like the same kind of behavior as what we saw earlier, but it's just to cancel like the function if you don't want to keep doing the intervals. Now, okay, anyone have an example of where you would use that interval? Okay, explain more.
Like, if you wanna set a time limit on movement, like if you wanna tell the user, how many minutes you have left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like time is like one of the most important things. We're gonna skip that because that's not right. Okay, and then an important thing about both of these is that you can actually use them together. It's like cool because like they can work hand in hand, right? So for an example, this function is the show date that we looked at earlier, and then we also have another function called clear date interval. So this basically shows the date every second, right? But then can someone walk me through what the second line does? Yes, Mo?
After 11 seconds, it would clear that interval,
Yeah. Okay.
and then it would stop printing out the date after 11 seconds.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions about this? You see how like they can like work together? Yeah.
It's okay if you have a question. It's pretty thought-provoking.
Yeah, it is very thought-provoking.
Do you know why we had to make a wait, why do we even have to make a clear date interval function? Why didn't we just call it clear interval right here? I guess you can, but this makes it more readable.
I think you can, yeah. It's just demonstrating that like,
You can pass in any
yeah,
function you want here. It doesn't have to just be clear interval.
yeah. Okay. Next we're gonna talk about variable scope.
Okay. Slightly changing topics, like Jenna said, we're gonna talk about variable scope. So just as a slight like review recap, variables are how we refer to values using names. So instead of like just using the raw data, we give them a name to make it easier to like understand what the data we're looking at is. And so they have something called variable scope, which is also you can think about it like visibility. It's basically where you can use the variable within your code, right? Like, can you call it? Can you change it? It's just, it'll make a little more sense as we look at examples, but it's just, yeah, basically where can you use the code? Where can you use the variable in your code? So there's different types that we can have. We can go on to the next slide. The first type, the like biggest type is global scope. So if you have global scope, it can be used by any code in your program or anywhere in your program, like any part of the code. And so in JavaScript, it's considered global if it's a direct child of the browser's window object. This will get a little complicated, but it's essentially just like, yeah, global scope in JavaScript just means that you can use like
If it's like not inside of a function, it's a global scope variable.
yes code we had we like open up like your homework or something, and you just like type a variable in, and then you type another function under it. It's like use it that variable in the function. We have example code that will make more sense later on. But yeah, if you see like up there, if you have text, you can use the variable text inside the function. Another thing, if we
You want me to go to the next one?
wait no, on the previous slide. Another way that's like interesting in JavaScript that you can create a global variable is without like, you know how before we had to do let variable name const, something like that. If you don't use that, that'll be a global variable regardless of it's like even if it's a function, if it doesn't have let or const, it'll be variable. The only thing is you have to give it a value, like you can't just declare it. You can't just say like text semicolon. You have to like be like text equals. So yeah, for example, if you see the first line text equals hello, that's a global variable because it doesn't have let or const or anything, and also because like it's at the top of the line, it's outside of the function. That means like you can use it anywhere in your code. Same with let name because it's like outside of the function, you can use it inside the function also. And then also inside function return name because you have text2 equals by. Again, because you don't use let or const, that makes it global. So technically, if you wanted, you could use text2 outside of the function also because it's global scope.
Actually?
Yeah.
No, whatever, bro.
I don't
Told y'all, bro.
know.
This is the worst language ever, bro.
So I guess for recap, what scope would text name and text2 be? Alright, moving on.
What if there was a let before text2? What would the scope be of text2? If it was let text2 equals by.
What do you?
It's called local, but yeah, you get the idea.
So that next thing, local scope. There's like different kinds. The one first I'm gonna talk about function scope is essentially what it sounds like. You can only use this variable inside the specific function that you made it in. So for example, here we have let name equals Sarah, right? And because we have that let, it's not global. And because it's inside the function, it's function scoped. So then if we do return name, well, do you guys know what that would return? Yes.
Sarah.
Yeah, if you call the function, that makes sense because you're using the variable name inside the function return name. However, if we try and directly call the function or the variable name without using the function, the console log wouldn't work. Does anyone know why it wouldn't work?
Into the function.
Kind of. It's just because you like created this variable inside the function thing. And because you did it, because it's function scoped, that means you can only use it within the return name function, right? So now that we're trying to use name outside the function, it's essentially that you said it's like we never made a name object in the first place. So then the code is like, oh, it doesn't know what you're referring to essentially. There's another thing called block scope, and like a block would be like mentioned, like an if statement or else statement. So it's if you create like a variable inside the block, it can't be used outside of the block. But JavaScript again is a little weird. So if you go into the define, it doesn't really have lots of variables. Because basically what it does is it scans through the function and it looks through the blocks and it sees, okay, we have let text equals correct year declared inside the if statement. So it just kind of like rearranges it and it declares let text. It keeps it undefined, but it declares the variables there. So technically you can use it outside of the block. So block scoping is a thing in other languages, not really in JavaScript because it's kind of funky of it.
You know, cool thing about JavaScript, you can also just chalk all the semicolons. You don't need you don't need them. They're fake.
Yeah, okay. And then another interesting thing in JavaScript, I think that basically what I mentioned before, it's called variable hoisting. So basically when you have a function, you scan through the function, you see if any variables are declared at all within that function, and then just like you don't see it like I think, but what it'll do like behind the scenes, I guess, is it'll just declare all these functions at the declare all these variables at the top of the function, and then it'll just leave them undefined, and then as you go through, it'll use them.
So will this print undefined and then Jonathan?
It will. It's if we move forward, see why. But yeah, so when it prints console.log name, prints undefined and prints Jonathan. Because essentially that's what the code is doing. So it's making a name variable inside function print name, but that name variable is undefined. And then it's using that to when you call console.log. and then you're setting name to Jonathan, so then it's using. Then now name has like a value Jonathan. So then
But you can do let. Oh yeah, okay. No, that makes sense because I forgot like you can. I didn't know you could do let name and then later on do let name, and that's not an issue.
no, this is just an example of
That's probably right.
Once global.
Is that how it works in other languages too?
Okay, so basic review. Global variables you can use anywhere in your code. Local variables you can only use in whatever scope you can use it in. So in JavaScript, you only really have function scope. So if you declare a variable inside a function, then you can use it in the function. Otherwise, you can't. Like a pop quiz, I guess. Do you remember the two ways you can make a global variable?
Or in a function or outside of it?
Yes. So if you obviously if you declare a function or a variable outside the function, that'll be global. Do you remember the other way? That's kind of strange. So it's essentially again like if you don't use let or const or var, you just have the name, you give it a value, even if it's inside a function that makes it. It's kind of confusing, but if you just think about if you make it inside a function, only use it in the function. But if you make it outside the function, you can use it. And yeah, globals, having global variables might seem easy, right? Because then you don't have to worry about like, oh, can I use this variable here? Or can I use it? Where can I use it? But it's best to limit the use of them because in the real world, there's like data that you want to be contained, right? Like say I had my like bank information. I want it to be contained to me. Like I don't want to know, I wouldn't want everyone else to know my bank information. So there's certain situations in which like you only really want a function to know these variables. You don't need every other function to know these variables. Any questions about any of that? Okay. Yes.
I have a question. So would it always be a good common idea to always use some keyword like let or const or var instead of just letting the compiler choose for me?
Yeah, that would be a good idea because then there's I guess like a less chance of accidentally global variables and having like data stuff like that. Good question. And then moving on, we have function code. This is like another sort of topic shift. But an important thing you have to do is comment your code because right now you might be the only person looking at your code. But if you like in a class ever have to do a partner project or like when you start working, you're gonna have to work in a team, right? You need other people to be able to read your code. And so if I look at my code, obviously I know what I write. But if someone else looks, they might not understand the same way. Or even if like say I'm like coding at like 3 a.m. and I'm in the zone, right? Like I know what I'm writing, and then the next morning I'm like, whoa, what did I do? That's why comments are important. Because then it's basically just like it allows you to like add commentary to your code essentially and like explain what variables do and things like that. So yeah, there's different ways you can write a comment. The most common way to get like a single line one is you do // and then comments you never run. They're like just like text for you. So if you're like you can comment out lines of code to make sure they don't run. So like if you're trying to debug and you're trying to find like, oh, is this line like causing the issue and you don't want to just delete it, you can comment out that line as well. Does anyone have any questions so far about?
This is moved on. Okay, next one.
So single line comments are just // You can have, well, I guess with the previous slide was saying you can have one line can have just a comment, or you can have like code and then a comment after that. But the only thing you don't want to do is do like // TPEO's first person and then let name Jonathan because that would make the entire line. And if you want multiple lines of comments, you can do like / asterisk and then asterisk / at the end. So like say you're trying to comment out a function because you're like, oh, I don't need any more, something like that. You can just use that. Or if you want like type out a paragraph.
Yo, why is my taskbar getting leaked right now?
Best practices for commenting. Always comment as you're writing it. One, that's just easier, like as you're going and to know what you're doing and type it out as opposed to like going back and having to read through all your code, especially if you like write a lot of it. It's easier to just comment as you go. Yeah, same thing as above, just like comments are useful. Um, use more words and less code in your comments. Just because like a big purpose of this is like organization and readability. And so it's easier if it's like you already have the code, right? So if you like are trying to explain it, it's easier to explain it in a sentence, especially if someone else is looking at it. Because you don't know if they like have a technical background. So it's easier to just make sure it's like explanatory to everyone. Embrace white space. No one wants to see like a chunk of code. It's okay. You can like make new lines and stuff. And then because another thing is like you don't want it to be too cluttered. So there's some things that are like obvious that you don't need to comment. Like if you have A plus B, you don't need to comment, oh, this adds together variables A and B. That is a little obvious. But if you have like a more complicated formula, for example, you might want to comment that. And just general code hygiene stuff, make good comments, use appropriate variable and function names. Does anyone know why that would be important? Using appropriate names. Like why would I name like a variable length versus just A? Jenna?
Because then if I named it A, like someone reading it or me, like I'll forget what it means. So it's just funny.
So that's just basically the whole overarching idea of this whole section is just make your code readable so you can understand the future and other people can understand you. Use variable scopes smartly. Again, like we mentioned previously, try and keep it local unless absolutely necessary. And always use like your len and const beginners, so you don't accidentally make global variables. And then use consistent syntax for different blocks of code. So it's like just nicer to read.
Okay, guys, we're gonna do the demo now. Okay, before we start the demo, let's do some active callback or whatever it's called. So, can anyone name what does set timeout do?
Timeout basically sets like a condition like, oh, after this many seconds pass, do this.
Yeah. What about set interval?
Basically, so like, it'll do it, a certain amount of times or a certain amount of time.
Why would I do set interval aside from just a for loop?
Wait, what?
Oh, I would do set interval and not a for loop because set interval I can actually fit like calculate how much time is going to happen in between each step, while a for loop it's whatever how fast your computer can compile it. Why would I comment? That's a good question. Why would I comment? Yeah,
Also allows you to like remember like what it's doing if you come back to it at a later point.
yeah, that's exactly right. What's up?
How do you clear? Oh wait. How do
Oh, I
you
would
stop?
clear timeout. So if we could all go to navigate to our TPEO folders and go to the JavaScript. Give me a second, I don't wanna. Okay, there we go. So here we are. This is where we were last week. We finished the week 3 demo. So now what we want to do is, what is this? Okay. Um, bro. Control C and it's doing wireless 10. Just like go to like my, okay, let's make a new terminal. Okay. Don't ask me. Wait, why is my terminal being, look, it's like literally just, it just exists.
Just go back to your old term. Work easy.
Yeah. Wait, no, wait. I'm just confused because I usually have like a little extension, but I guess it's not popping up this time. It's okay. Um, yeah, that's exact. No, no, no. It's not autocomplete. It's oh my ZSH. So like my terminal looks cute. Where's the update button?
It's there though.
Yeah, whatever. Wait, it's just completely nuked. Oh, okay. Now it's working. Let's delete this terminal. And here we are, barring all technical difficulties. So does anyone remember what we should usually do before we start making any changes to our code base? Yeah, that's a good idea too. Yeah, that's exactly what you do. So you want to check out main, just make sure you're on the right branch, and then git fetch upstream. That grabs all the changes that we have pushed, and then git merge upstream with main. It's because you need to add. So yeah, I'm getting merge conflicts, guys. I'm sorry. Resolve in the merge editor. Yeah, if one of y'all could help him with the filling. So when this happens, I just click current. Just accept the current one, right? Current's the one you're supposed to normally accept. Okay, there we go. Yo, who thought of merge like who thought of this, bro? Was it you, Yash? Merge fits. Push, push origin name. Some. Let's go back here. When you're all checked out and all merged up, if you could put your computer at 45-degree angle so we know. And if you need any questions, we have some capable people. Next talking about Jenna. Wait, so what even is the point of merge conflicts? Like, if I'm pushing something, I obviously want it to be over priority than the merge conflict. Whoa, wait, so what is it?
Else in the same file. Feature.
But if there wasn't a different feature, what would our code accept?
Because what if they're like messing with the same function?
But then how do you choose what to merge?
That's why you have to go in and like select both things and make sure nothing's sitting over it.
Actually? No, that's crazy. I'm so glad I've never.
Once you're in Expedia, that's what you're gonna be doing, bro. Merge conflict.
Are you actually like you're being serious? Like my job's gonna be merge conflicts and CRUD. I'm doing CRUD merge conflicts.
You. Especially if some people like push new stuff that you need to pull.
Mm-hmm.
They have my very down.
Current is the incoming is the one that you did. Current is the one on the actual branch, right?
Incoming is
The one that you pulled. Oh, really? Okay. You think if you took a piece of the cookie from the bottom out and put it back in, your girlfriend would have noticed?
I'm not giving this.
Shoot or shoot, bruh. Joyce, would a you get mad if I got you a insomnia cookie and then you notice the bottom half has been eaten, but I hit it? Would you be upset at me at all? Thank you, bro. I'm about to hit up Andrew myself, bro.
No, Andrew's not responding to me.
He's not. Oh, he's how is he fading his own employee? What happened, bro?
I'm so excited for like malls to open up.
Why?
Need a job for the fall. I'm not trying.
Wait, my thing is I want to do some fall method where I like just like do like IBM or something over the fall. But then it's like I would have to, hmm?
IBM's like fall thing is like a whole year.
Really?
Like,
Then it's like I wouldn't.
don't do it soft. You
'Cause-
gotta like finish your classes, like your main required
Mhm. And I'll also miss OS with the actual like in like normal people. I'd have to take OS with the.
Exactly. To do OS, like I think finish OS and algos, and then
Do you think, oh, bro? You know I got a 72 on my first comp arc test, bro. Is it chalk?
two out of
100,
what was the average?
a 40? Is there a curve? Did they curve it at that?
No, I don't think they curved for us, but they like gave us like a lot of like you could like
Oh, wait.
say like if you send a picture of your work, they give you partial credit or something like that. I think that's what they did.
Oh my God. Wait, for us, because it's in paper, they have like little boxes like show your work here. And no one's showing their work there, bro. So
Show your work, you got more credit. For, like, partial credit.
bro, and then our tests are wait, I'm so mad because I messed up the floating point question, which is literally just like floating points. Like I'm bro, it's because I'm like I read like I didn't shift it one extra, and then they had it where like if you get the first part wrong, the rest of the question is shocked. So it's an instant minus
You
20.
need to know.
Yeah, everything's so.
And like in real life, no one's gonna ask you how floating points work.
Just wait, bro. We'll just wait until they ask me how floating points work in real life, bro. It's so dumb. Like,
Maybe for like on hardware.
and I'm never gonna go into hardware my entire life, bro. I think I've already accepted like the B plus, bro. I think I'll take like a good boy, like whatever. Okay. So for our demo, we're going to try to write code that uses an interval to count one by one every second, starting from one. So let's get it rocking. We're gonna begin with we're gonna begin by declaring the global variable, which will keep track of how many seconds have been passed. So any ideas on how we should do that and what we should name it?
Describe the variable again.
The variable will be a variable that keeps track of how many seconds have passed by. I'll just set it to 0 first. And then we're going to have a function. Function time passed. Yeah. And inside of this function, we're going to do something very simple. We're just going to pass a second. And then we're going to console.log seconds passed plus. Oh, wait. I can just do seconds passed. Seconds. And then also 1 seconds doesn't make sense. So what we can do is if seconds passed equals 1, you can console.log second. Else you console.log seconds. Does anyone know why I just did that? It's because 1 seconds doesn't make sense.
Wow. Nice.
Okay, moving on. You do have a question. What's up, Jenna? Oh, okay. That's a good question. So some good hygiene is to just like comment out like the top of your functions, what they do. So I'll comment that time passed. When this function has been called, use it to indicate a second passing by. Okay, so the whole first one is unnecessary, according to my colleague. So we're gonna actually chalk it and use function to indicate. Okay, you know what? Yo, chalk everything. We're just gonna say indicates a second has passed. And then this might be a little confusing, so we'll be like, um, 1 second makes no sense. Boom. That's it. Moving on now, we want to do the whole interval ID and stuff like that. So, any ideas? Anyone remember how we should actually make that happen? Me, Mohammed. Okay, what do you think? Well, I believe we should do an interval ID and then set that interval so that every 1,000 milliseconds time pass gets called. Sounds like a great idea. So let's do let interval ID. Also, I feel like I'm giving y'all like the wrong idea. It doesn't always have to be an interval ID. So let's call it let interval one, and we'll actually use this later. Let interval one equals set interval. If you guys remember, it actually tells you right there. You want to pass in the time handler, which is just like a fancy way of saying the function. So let's pass in time passed. And then how many seconds? 1,000 milliseconds. And that's one. And then that should work. So let's run the code. Node, week four, week four, week four. Cool. 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi. Ugh, I'm done counting. I'm so bored. Any ideas how we can fix this dilemma that I just ran into? Because I got bored at 10 seconds and I'm so bored. No, it's called, I think it's called clear interval. So, Jenna, what do we put inside of clear interval? How do we show that it should happen after 10 seconds?
Zero, 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 zero.
Put in the code again? Oh no, I knew that was wrong.
That. And then set timeout.
Oh, you're so right. Wow, you're actually so smart. Okay, she's so completely correct. So let's do function. Um, clear interval, clear time. I agree 100%, but I don't know. This is how we did it in the slideshow. Variable or interval number like that. And then all this function is going to do is clear interval of interval number. And then we're going to call set timeout of clear time interval with 10,000 milliseconds, and the argument is interval one. Okay, anyone know why this works? Actually, I'm not looking at the code. This was straight off the dome. Yeah, it's like Loki, I'm a little worried. It works after 9 seconds. So let's actually make that 11,000. As I said, I'm not bored after 10 seconds. Okay, anyone know why this works? Okay, guys. I think we should print out the 10.
Why does it not work though?
Because for the 10th time interval it needs all 1,000 seconds. So when it's at 10,000, it's actually only on the ninth, like that's on the ninth iteration of the thread. So it needs the extra 1,000 milliseconds for the thread to like be done and like send the queue report.
It needs 1,000 milliseconds. Try it like 10,250.
10,250.
Or just make it shorter so we don't spend 10 seconds. Do like 150.
Second really enough is a minus one.
Okay. Do
I think it would take all 10 seconds. No, like if even if we did like 10,750, I don't think it would run because the thread needs all 1,000 milliseconds to actually like put itself back on the callback queue. Because it takes 1,000 milliseconds for one, then two, then three, then four, then five, then six, then seven, then eight, then nine. And at nine, then you're at 10,000, I think. What? No, this can't be.
there's just a delay in when it prints it out.
That makes sense, but I don't know why. Don't ask me too many questions, guys.
How in operations are
That's very interesting. Now, let's say every 3 seconds, I really want to eat a burger. How do we implement that? Okay, Jenna. Okay.
call.
Joyce. I feel bad. Every 3 seconds, I really want to eat a burger.
Those ass.
Yo, chalk everything, bro. Back on top. There's the call a function called eat burger that takes in no parameters and it'll console.log. I ate a burger. Okay, so now that we have this amazing idea, does anyone know how we should define? Quick, guys, quick. We're out of time. Quick. I'll call it interval two is equal to set interval and then eat burger with 3,000. So hope this works. And eats a burger every 3 seconds. Let's go. Okay, thank you guys for coming to TPEO JavaScript. Why is it printing I eat a burger before 3 seconds? Okay, thank you guys for coming. We all appreciate your showings. If you have any questions, we are all available after class. It's it's you get a candy if you do the homework and show it to us.
Choose. Then you get a candy or mold and kiss on.
I'm still live, bro. Okay. Zoom call with. Oh my God, we have 17 Zoom members. This is awesome. Goodbye to the group. We'll see you later.